Welcome back, everyone, to the Dreamhack Dota 2 Invitational. We're going to be getting into Game 2 between Dignitas and Alliance here in just a second. I'm joined once again by Webpas. Dignitas, pretty strong in Game 1.
Yeah, they played really, really well, and like we mentioned, tactical feed, pretty much.
Yeah, tactical feeds.
It's
good.
They got good pickoffs, even though they sacrificed 2 heroes for 1 pretty much all the time. Alliance couldn't really capitalize on the really good early game push they had.
Yeah.
And then their mid game kind of got not as strong as they wanted to, and Dignitas just kept on rolling.
Well, of course, we are once again joined by none other than Scriff and Bruno the Stat Man, who has some stats.
Of course I have stats, and let's go straight to them because we are in a hurry. There you go. We're talking about head-to-head right now, and I mean, this is a little bit short, but there's a really, really important stat right here. Team Dignitas, 174 games played, 112 won games, 62 lost games, 64% record. That's pretty impressive. Yeah. On the other side, we have 138 games by Nota Hunter, 95-43. That's 69% record. 9 times facing each other. The record favors Team Dignitas 5-4, which is not saying much, but there's something that we need to point out. Team Dignitas won every single game in this tournament, except for the 2 that they lost to Team Alliance, back then Nota Hunter, in the group stage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, looking really, really strong. Nota Hunter, not even them. I think they lost to Fnatic 2-1 in the group stage. Yep. Fnatic, of course, now eliminated. But Team Dignitas, apparently Nota Hunter, Alliance, they're pariah so far. They're thing that they have to beat. They have to prove themselves that they can go through Alliance. Of course, Alliance in a great streak so far. So this match means a lot, if only because there's a rivalry from before in this tournament, and now Team Dignitas surely wants to take that loss back and make it a win and take the $2,500 home and feel happy about it. I'm going about Dreamhack, summer, I'm having fun, meeting us, playing, picking weird heroes, maybe Pudge.
I want fuck back at Dreamhack, man. Last
maybe
Dreamhack,
Tusk.
it was crazy.
It was crazy. You know, when we went to Dreamhack
hard.
Winter, we had this game where it was Gods, Sing, and myself playing, and we were roaming as Nyx, Pudge, Juggernaut. Pretty effective roaming, I gotta say. You pretty much get in rot range, and the hero is dead. There's nothing you can do. You take rot damage, you take spin damage, you get stunned. It's like, what do I do? But of course, enough about that. We're getting into Game 2 here between Dignitas and Alliance. Now the draft has finally started, so we're going to get a chance to talk a little bit about this game for Alliance, because Game 1, they ran, you could say, easily one of their most notable strategies right now, and it didn't work. So do you want to try to go for the same thing twice, or do you try to change it up?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, do they want to run this? They got quite a lot of heroes to pick up, and they're going to go with the mag first. We'll have to see what they want to go with as their second pick.
I do like the mag choice more than a puck in a lot of situations, because the hero is basically not identical, but they're very, very closely related. You use them as a blink initiator or counter initiation. The thing is, though, I feel like mag is just a better version of what puck gives you. Sure, puck is more mobile, and during the early game, his laning phase, you can actually harass some heroes where mag just has to bottle crow and kind of suffer through his laning phase, if you want to call it that, which is fine. But last game, S4, he didn't play bad. I mean, yeah, he got picked a few times, but that happens to everyone. It's more so that his impact as that hero just wasn't enough to give Alliance an edge. He needed something better, something possibly like a reverse polarity that Dignitas had, and I'm really happy with their hero choice here.
Yeah, I mean, the Dream Coil is good, but like you said, with it, you can get a lot of farm on the puck, but your impact is not going to be that big if you have that many tanky heroes on the other team. Like Dignitas had. They had the mag that could stand in front of the gyro, they had the darks here, they had a prophet with the tree end, so they just had so many heroes in front that even if puck blinked behind, it would have been so hard. But like you said, going for the mag first here, really, really good, and he hits hard as well with that empower. He can right click hard, so they get some extra physical damage coming out as well, and they still got very good pushing potential just with those 2 heroes, just because empower on the bear is super good.
So now Dignitas have to make this choice. Do they want to go for some initiation themselves, or just pick the exact same 3 heroes that they've picked in game number 1? So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, coming out of side Dignitas. But I do want to kind of hit what you were saying, is Alliance has this team right now that, I got to say, the Alchemist pick, potentially a little bit greedy, but Dignitas, since they picked the same heroes, there's no reason to believe that they necessarily would be running this aggressively, but at the same time, you see just a Gyrocopter of the tri-lane. Is there the opportunity for Dignitas to say, okay, you want to pick an Alchemist, we're just going to lane against you?
Yeah, I mean, they can pick up a Rubik, they can go for a Bane, they can go for so many heroes. They can even put the Prophet mid if they want to.
Yeah.
Just to have the TP there, instead of putting me in jungle. And then you can have double support so they can go aggressive, like you said, and just really forcing that Alchemist down, making sure that it doesn't get farmed, just because the Flat Cannon harass is so good. But at this point, we'll just have to wait and see what they want to pick up for supports, and mid, of course, if they don't want to run that Nature's Prophet mid. But Alliance pretty much, they got their 3 core ready, and they're just looking for supports at this point.
Well, Dignitas, they take out the Shadow Demon, and Alliance are also going to be banning out Rubik. So, to me, I feel like Alliance are relying more on their supports than Dignitas are at the moment, because they have 2 heroes that we saw last game. They can just double jungle if they really, really want to, and you know the Alchemist is going to be going to his safe lane. So, I feel like by banning out the Rubik, they're not necessarily restricting them or their opponents as much as they are themselves. Sure, you don't want to give Dignitas the first pick Rubik when you already have a mag, but what supports are they really going to have left after this?
Yeah, that's the thing. Alliance is really forced to ban the supports, but that's going to leave pretty much every mid open for Dignitas. So if they don't want to run the Prophet mid, they can go. They're actually going to ban out Puck, which I think is a good decision. But they can go for a Queen of Pain if they want to. He's going to wreck Mag mid.
Yeah.
And Mag is at level 5. He's going to be able to get some farm because he can Bottle Crow and Shockwave spam. But it's still going to be so hard for him to just get that early farm and the impact that he wants to if he goes up against the Queen of Pain. So Dignitas really got a lot of stuff open for them. Still a lot of heroes in the pool. They can still go for a Shadow Shaman if they want to. They can go for Bane if it doesn't get banned out in the last. So their lineup at this point is really good. They're actually going to ban out the Bane themselves.
I'll see what Alliance are going to take out as the last here. Maybe it's going to be another mid. Could potentially be another support. But of course, Dignitas, they're going to get the pick out of the second ban phase first. So Alliance still looking at a core 3 of, I would say, very tanky heroes. But at the same time, Bruno mentioned in game number 1 the Dignitas lineup was a little bit greedy. I'm feeling Alliance is kind of the same way in this game so far. Of course, we haven't seen what their last 2 are going to be, and Alliance ban out the Shadow Shaman. So that to me says they're still thinking that Dignitas are going to be running this as a defensive lane and nothing else pretty much, but we'll see. There's still options like Lina open if they want to try to run it that way. Sure, you're not going to have the opportunity to line it up with something like a Lifestealer, but I mean, seeing Lifestealer in the pool against those heroes in particular this late is a little bit strange too.
Yeah, I mean, it would be very surprising to see that pickup, but I feel like Dignitas really planned for this to happen, at least with the last ban out, with them going for the Bane ban instead, that Alliance pretty much had to choose, like either we ban the Shadow Shaman, or we ban another mid hero like a Queen of Pain, maybe even a TA if Dignitas wants to be greedy and just go for a pickoff strat with the Nature's Prophet and the TA. They could go for something like that, because at this point they can go for so many strong mid heroes and they still got quite a bit of supports open. And isn't it Dignitas that started running the Clockwork support?
Yeah,
weren't they the first one?
Yeah.
So that's most likely going to be a Clockwork support. And they can still pick a super strong mid. They got TA open, they got Queen of Pain open. They got a lot of mid heroes open for them at this point.
It's really strange whenever I see this, because I see the lane, and the last time I saw this, it was a dual lane versus a tri-lane, and it was Fog playing Sport Clockwork. And I'm thinking to myself, how the heck is this going to work? But Clockwork, he doesn't really need items as much as he needs levels. So when you put him in a dual lane, if your opponents don't control properly, you're going to be getting quite a decent chunk of experience yourself. You can hit a quick 6. And this is one of those heroes that is very difficult to get past. We talked about it in game 1. Aoi just had free reign over these team fights because you had the Mag, you had the Darkseer. There was no real straight path to be able to just focus Aoi. And while Alliance do have, I feel, a better initiator for this kind of a style, in game number 2, I feel like they could potentially be running into the same problem, especially with random rockets going out. Say the Mag accidentally gets hookshot if he's in a bad position. The counter initiation and the ability to protect Aoi in this game for Dignitas is still very, very good.
Yeah, they got the Darkseer as well as the Clockwork, and the Cogs is going to be so good for them to have against the Lone Druid Bear as well as Alchemist. I mean, Alchemist is pretty much never going to be able to get in on the Gyrocopter if the Clockwork gets a good Cog or a good hookshot. So at this point, they're really protecting their hard carry well. So we'll have to see what they want to go for mid. But like I said, they got so many options open for them right now. if they want to go for a TA and just go for the backline killing off supports, they can do that because they're still going to have a Clockwork as well as a Darkseer protecting the gyro.
Yeah.
So they got everything open for them still, I feel like.
I'm kind of feeling an AA pick here. I don't know why for Dignitas. I mean, you have the Cogs, you have the Vacuum Call Down. If they had an Ancient Apparitional to top on that, even tanky heroes like Alchemist, Lone Druid, Mag, they will die to that damage. I mean, it's just simply too much. But they're going to go with the Queen instead. Not going to put the Nature's Prophet mid. They're just going to go ahead and pick up a mid that way. So it looks like they're going to be completely sacking their off lane here for the second game in a row. And they are going to have Universe playing at the Darkseer, so eventually they can just go ahead and rotate that hero over whenever they deem necessary. So Alliance now, I'm thinking that's a support Windrunner. Probably not a whole lot other things you can do with it at this stage. I mean, you know S4 is probably going to be playing on the Mag. They have Admiral Bulldog's Lone Druid that'll probably go to that off lane for the second game in a row. And I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get that much done. And Alliance left with very little supports left. They're going to pick up the Veno.
Yeah, so Veno really felt like last pick for them. Like, that was just... They didn't really have any other options. I'm a bit surprised to see that they could actually have ran the Shen again, but it felt like it would have been very greedy.
Yeah.
Because the Shen wouldn't have been able to do that much. They would have had some good pushing potential. But the counter push from Dignitas right now is like they got the Prophet Ultimate, they got the Sonic Wave, and they got Rocket Spam. So it would have been super greedy to go for a Venomancer or a Shen. So the Venomancer is good, but it's still like Dignitas really forced them into this position where it's like they're forced to pick unconventional or not that many picked supports, which is might work out really well for them. But Alliance is good at pulling these lineups off, so we'll have to see how it goes.
For me, the Venomancer against heroes like Darkseer, not really that good. I mean, the thing about it is, of course, yeah, they didn't really have a whole lot of supports left. They're going to have EGM playing on the Windrunner this time, so it is going to be a support, and they're going to be supporting basically that Alchemist. So they could potentially kill Universe. Gale does last longer than level 1 Surge and even level 2, of course. But the thing is, you gain so much distance between that time. If you don't synergize your spells perfectly, he can get away. So I don't think Universe is going to be going to that lane straight away, but he will probably be making his way there in the first couple of levels. So it's game 2. Going to have a quick pause here. Looks like Fogged is back, and I think everyone's good to go, so it should be done here in just a moment. But looking at the laning phase for both of these teams, it looks very reminiscent of Game 1 for Dignitas. They're pretty much running the exact same thing, just of course on Radiant this time. But Alliance, I feel like they do have a stronger initiation, but this time I feel like their follow-up is maybe going to be even weaker than it was before.
It's just going to be so hard for them to get in. If they don't hit the RP on the clock, they're going to have Cogs that stops the Alchemist, and the Alchemist is not going to be able to follow up with the damage that he needs, the Empower damage and his ultimate, of course. So like you said, the team fight is good, and they got really good initiation, but the follow-up damage is going to be the big problem for them at this point, just because this clock is going to be very annoying for them.
I'll see how Fog does. He's going to be playing it here in game number 2. So the lane's shaping up pretty much how we expected. Way 2 going to be jungling there on that Nature's Prophet for the second game in a row. And Universe deciding after a while, it's like, I'm probably not going to be spending too much time in the top lane. Might as well just go back to the jungle and get myself some farm. And the thing about Alliance's lineup too here for the second game is that, like you were saying, the Chen pick might have been a possibility. And while I do feel like it would have been greedy, it's still okay because there's no one contesting the farm in the top lane. It's like you're going to need somebody to buy the mech. And right now, if you look at Alliance's lineup, who's going to get their mech fast? Like, which hero on that team is going to go straight into a mech and be able to get it at like 10, 11 minutes like a Chen would, or like a Darkseer would, maybe even faster? So their fighting potential is going to be limited by the fact that they don't really have a whole lot of efficient farming on their team.
Yeah, I mean, their supports is pretty much going to rely on just pulling and keeping the lane static, but like you said, Universe, if he goes into the jungle straight away, he can go up there at level 3. Because even if they hit a Gale, like you said, if they don't line up the Shackle perfectly after that, and then, of course, the Concoction from the Alchemist, they're still not going to kill him. So he can get a lot, and he can really disrupt Loda's farm. And Aui's not going to have that problem on a Gyrocopter, because 1, he's a ranged hero, and 2, he can just, like, pull the wave back, and it's going to be a lot easier for him to farm in his bottom lane. I mean, farming against an Iron Shell is just so hard.
Well, this is actually a bit unexpected. They have Venomancer in the bottom lane with Admiral Bulldog right now. So instead of potentially just sacking the lane and having Admiral Bulldog off doing his own thing in the jungle and Ake farming the woods as well, they're putting a lot of emphasis on this bottom lane. So this is two heroes that are basically getting nothing, and I think this is partly what I was saying earlier, in that they don't have anybody who's necessarily going to get a quick mech. Windrunner's probably going to be doing it now, since EGM was left in that top lane to basically do whatever it is he needs to do in terms of creep pulling and getting his gold up, which is fine, but you're kind of sacrificing two heroes for it.
Yeah, but it could have been very good. They didn't manage to get the counter ward, actually, or killing off the ward, but with the surprise having the Venomancer there, could have been super good for them, just being able to get a Gale out, and then you have the Bear as well as two other heroes just hitting on the hero, so they could have been able to get first blood. But at this point, they've revealed the Venomancer, so it's not going to work that well, I'd say, and like you said, they're really sacking their other support at this point.
Well, Way2, Fogged, and Universe all going to be jungling on the side of Dignitas here, so already level 2 on Fogged, and both carries obviously going to be free farming. Not a whole lot else can be said. Bear is actually quite low at the moment. Middle lane, sneaking, taking on S4. And S4 is actually doing a pretty decent job. Of course, Queen of Pain has a really easy time against melee, especially before S4 is able to get his bottle up. I'm sure he's going to be having it here in a second as it's being sent out by the courier. But it's just so easy to pressure these melee heroes as Queen of Pain.
Yeah, I mean, the Shadow Strike is just so good to have. And then, of course, you're going to be able to get some extra right clicks in, because the melee hero, of course, wants to get close to the wave. And I really liked one of the decisions that Alliance made. Load actually got a very early acid spray, and they started to push, so they're forcing Universe to come up. He's level 3 now, though, so he's going to be able to counter push it quite efficiently. But it's still, they're forcing Universe away, which means that Bulldog might have an easier time being able to leech some experience, because the Darkseer is not going to be there with an Iron Shell and a Surge, of course. So it's nice for them to put that pressure and really forcing Universe to stay up in the top lane, otherwise they're going to lose the tier 1 tower.
Well, even though they do manage to get him out here, the Unstable Concoction will hit. Universe is going to be fine for the moment. Looks like Ake was going for a potential courier snipe. He was kind of just walking back towards that middle lane of Dignitas' side with that Invis rune. Not going to be successful. And Sneaking still continues to farm up here in the middle lane. So it's 14-4 compared to 11-2 with S4. So like I said, he's doing okay, especially this early on. Like 3 minutes in, you would expect the mag maybe to be a little bit farther behind. But S4, of course, known for his mid. Now Sneaking going to get galed here. Forced to blink back up to his side of the river. And he's going to be fine. But just this rotation, yeah, it does matter a little bit, but Way2's still farming away. Like, he's not really scared at all. He's going to be teleporting mid, actually. It looks like Ake is going to be in a bit of trouble, taking a couple extra auto attacks. The Shadow Strike's going to be there. Is it going to be enough? And it will! Way2 picks up the kill. First blood going away Dignitas here in game 2.
Yeah, really nice teleport in there from Way2. And Snaking just keep his own bottle crowing on this Queen of Pain, which is going to help him keep up, since S4 is pretty much only going to bottle crow in this lane. He's going to try and hit level 6 and then maybe rotate bottom, since there's not really going to be anyone top to kill. It's going to be hard for him to even rotate bottom, because if they get a good RP, they need to have at least EGM as well as Ake TPing down there to be able to follow up with the damage.
Well, speaking of damage, Sneaking actually gets the 4-minute rune, so instead of having to bottle crow, he's got a DD, and now he has full health and mana, which is actually really nice. Getting 2 full bottles back to back without having to crow even once, that allows him to do this, which is pretty much pressure S4 back. He does have just enough mana for his skewer, so Sneaking not going to pursue that too aggressively. But it's 1-0, and you can see the last hits even. Like, Aoi is sitting at top. Of course, there's jungle farm on the Prophet. That's not necessarily indicative of how much money he actually has. And then Queen of Pain sitting at 22 and 6. So all 3 of the top CSers, at least, on the side of Dignitas right now.
Yeah, and this is one of the problems, like I pointed out a bit earlier, with Loda. When they force the Darkseer up here, he's level 4 now. So he got level 2 Iron Shell and level 2 Surge. So it's going to be super hard for him to kill him off. But that Iron Shell is really disrupting Loda's farm a lot, because you can see he's lacking on last hits, because you don't want to tank too much of that Iron Shell damage, of course, and they really want to get Universe here, so he's just walking back and forth a bit. But Alchemist doesn't need as many last hits, of course, as Gyro, just because he's got that Grievous Screed. But it's still, missing out on last hit is still missed out farm.
I don't feel like it's good enough to just not need as many last hits, because you're definitely right about that. Like, I'm not disputing the point you just made, but he needs to be getting the same last hits as Aoi, just because Alchemist's whole purpose is to get that farm faster than you would otherwise. And middle lane, 2 heroes quite low. Well, one of which, of course, being Sneaking. Way2 still sitting at about half health. But back to the Alchemist, it's like, it's not good enough to get average farm. You need good farm, especially because you're not able to really engage in fights in this early game. You need S4 to be level 6. You need the Arcanes and the Blink before you can really do much of anything. And Dignitas, they don't really suffer from that those same limitations.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, just being able to get that really fast farm is what they need at this point. And right now, the 2 top farmers are on Dignitas' side, which is very good for them. Always been hitting pretty much, or not every last hit.
This could be trouble for Admiral Bulldog. Haste Rune, he's only level 3. I don't know if he's going to be able to live through this. Sneaking wants to try to get in. Is he going to dive this? It looks like he will. The rocket's going to be there, and yeah, this is going to be another free kill. Sneaking going to get the last hit? Nope, looks like Aui's going to come in with a long-distance auto attack and to secure himself a little bit of extra gold.
Yeah, he just went past 2 towers just to be able to get that kill, and they should be able to put some really good pressure on this, because right now, the only one that can counter push well is EGM. And he's still staying up in top, just creep pulling together with Ake, just to be able to get some farm. So they can put some very good pressure on this tier 1 tower, and then, if they want to, go for a push for the tower in a few minutes.
It's kind of bothering me right now. If you look at the side of Dignitas, just the experience in general, like the overall hero levels, it's pretty bloated. Like the support, Ake, he's level 2. It's 7 minutes into the game. It would be more understandable if Admiral Bulldog was in that situation, because obviously he was against basically a tri-lane, or a quad lane if you want to call it that, up until Universe decided to go top. But they're just not really getting nearly as much as Dignitas. And Dignitas, I don't feel like, are even pressured that much to try to make anything happen, because yeah, sure, the Alchemist is farming, but Aui's farming, or CSing at the very least, better than the Alchemist is at this stage.
Yep, and they're going to go for a tower push now, and like I pointed out, they don't really have anything to counter push. They need the Windrunner to come down here, but he's level 4, like you pointed out, with the low experience. So he only got level 2 power shot, and that's not going to be enough to push down the Treants. You're going to get him to half HP, but you're going to need 2, at least 3 power shots to be able to kill off all the Treants. So you can just keep on pressuring this bottom lane and try and go for more towers if they want to.
Excellent camera work, Scriff. I'm a fan. I liked watching the rocket travel from bottom to the top lane. And Sneaking actually going to be able to catch out a support here in the river. Looks like it's going to be Ake as he ends up going down, trying to get away from S4. Is he going to go for the skewer? Looks like he will. Very, very low on mana. Sneaking has 2 seconds left. No, but he's going to get RP'd anyway. The Shackle's going to be there, and Universe tried to help out as much as he can. And the Unstable Concoction from Lotus is going to be there. Universe actually turns around, though, and I don't think it's going to matter. And yeah, Universe going to be dropping here as well. So 2 very quick turnarounds. Sneaking managing to pick off Ake, but giving away Universe and his own life, definitely not worth it.
That's not worth it by any means whatsoever. I mean, like you pointed out, Ake is still level 2, so
yeah,
he respawns quite fast, and I mean, getting your mid-hero killed is not really that good, and it was a good RP, even though it was... I'd say they probably could have got it on both the heroes if they wanted to, since Universe was coming down there as well. But it's still, in the end, they got 2 kills, so very good for them.
Well, apparently 3-0 is 101 win percent, according to our stats. That's of course Bruno's job. But Loda still farming quite well. It's up to 2,200 gold himself, and Aui going for his patented Shadow Blade first build. And I do like the Shadow Blade in a lot of situations. Gives them mobility. Oh, top lane. Going to see a teleport in. Sneaking's already there. Nice Shackle coming out of EGM. Don't think it's going to buy Loda enough time, though. Just the mobility of Dignitas' team is so high. S4 comes in, but he doesn't even have an RP. So this was more or less a scare tactic TP, I think, out of Alliance.
Yeah, just having the Queen of Pain with the Blink is so good. And then with the global strat, of course, or semi-global strat, with having the Nature's Prophet with his ultimate, and of course the TP is really helping them out, and they might even go for S4 here.
They're thinking about it. They have a ward behind the tower. They're going to be able to see any reaction coming in from the side of Alliance, and basically so far it has been nil. S4's ultimate still on cooldown, at least for a little bit longer. It's going to be up in about 15 seconds. And Fog, he's coming in. He does have the battery assault. They're going to dive. Sneaking actually blinks into the trees. Way2's going to be there. Vision from the rocket, but a triple skewer coming out of S4. Are you kidding me? Is he going to be able to do this all by himself? Trying the best to run away. If his RP was up, he probably would have got a triple kill right there.
Most likely. I mean, the damage from the shockwave at that point, as well as the skewer and the RP, would have been so massive. But In the meantime, though, Loda being able to kill off Aoi in the bottom lane, I believe he had some support from EGM as well, so a good counter kill, but it's still putting S4 further away from that Blink Dagger.
A very valiant effort from S4, we'll say that.
For sure.
As we're going to see Sneaking make his return to middle lane. Admiral Bulldog and Ake are both here, but still, Ake, he's got some experience. He's level 4 now, so he's not doing quite as poorly as he was earlier. Dignitas able to secure the tier 1 top in the meantime, but as you said, being able to pick off Aoi, going to be really nice. I just feel as though Alliance need to be doing more, because Alchemist, Loda being forced to move this early, even dying this early, is actually a little bit of a shock to me. Typically you don't see in this situation an Alchemist being pressured that quickly, but Dignitas have that lineup where they leveled so much faster than Alliance did, especially the supports, that they were able to abuse that, use their early game mobility, and just go for kills. Sneaking's going to eat a bit of a Gale here. He's going to aggressively blink in. That was definitely not what he wanted to do. He will end up killing Ake, but I mean, to quote somebody else, at what cost? I mean, that was probably not the best decision.
It's still, it's once again a support for a mid player, which isn't really the best trade they can get. I mean, it's kills, and it opens up the map a bit, of course. I mean, the Venom as a Gale is strong, though he respawns pretty much instantly.
Way too. Oh boy. The Skewer and the Unstable Concoction. Free kill there for Loda. So he's recovering quite nicely, actually. Alliance are fighting their way back into the game pretty well so far. And a lot of it's just because, I mean, Sneaking is known for being an aggressive mid, but this is too much aggression. Like, you don't get Galed and then say, okay, I'm going to blink farther into the enemy team, instead of vice versa.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird decision, for sure. And like you said, Loda getting quite a bit of farm, and Sneaking actually not going to get Galed this time, so he might be able to go for Ake if he wants to. But Loda's getting closer to Shadowblade, so he's going to be able to play a lot more aggressively. I believe he's actually got it coming out on the courier right now, so if they want to go for some more fighting, they're going to have some nice follow-up if the cogs aren't there, because he's going to be able to Shadowblade in with the concoction and then get X amount of stun depending on the RP, how big that is.
One thing that Dignitas really have to look forward to is the fact that Universe, up until this point, he doesn't have his mech yet, so I mean, he's not had the greatest farm in the world. His farm isn't as good as it was in Game 1, but as soon as he has that, I think it's going to be even harder for Alliance to make any of these kills happen, at least until S4 manages to get his hands on the blink. He's only 600 away at the moment, and way too, of course, sitting on that Midas and that Mithril Hammer, so I'm not sure if that's just going to be a straight Desolator. I'm kind of leaning towards that, just because having that right-click damage would be very, very nice. S4 actually going to get screamed after Sneaking blinks in. Sneaking able to dodge the Skewer, and S4 choosing, like, he doesn't really want to fight, which I don't blame him. Of course, Ake was there to back him up. But things have kind of died down a bit here.
Yep, people are going into more of a passive farming game. I believe Dignitas felt that with that aggressive play, they might just feel that they want to go back and farm up a bit more and get their team a bit stronger, get some more items, get that mechanism up, like you mentioned, just to be able to have a better teamfight presence and being able to survive in the teamfights, especially now when the Alchemist is getting some farm. I mean, they got picked off a few times, Alliance managing to get some kills, so at this point, just going back into some more farming, and then maybe go, once they have the Shadowblade up on the Gyrocopter, he's still 600 gold away, and maybe even the Orchid up on the Queen Flame.
He does have that robe, of course, Robe of the Magi, to make that Orchid if that is the choice he's going to make. And Aoi is going to be able to secure an Ancient stack here. This is going to probably be his Shadowblade, I would assume. And once he gets that, his damage output's going to go up pretty significantly. Bottom lane, Universe going to be very fortunate to get away from this 3-man gang squad of Alliance. And if they try to push this, actually I don't think they will. I mean, they're going to see that rocket, and yeah, they're just going to go ahead and back off instead. But Alliance really not able to pressure any towers. Typically when you see a safe lane, the safe lane at the very least gets to tier 1. Alliance haven't even gotten the tier 1. That's a little bit strange.
Yeah, they put some pressure, but then when Universe came up, they just couldn't really push anymore. But this could be very big, because S4 managed to pick up his blink, and he's sending it out straight away. So if he gets a good RP in this fight...
Oh, hook shot onto Ake. Fog going in all by himself. The Gale's actually going to completely miss somehow. The Nature's Prophet ultimate will end up getting the kill. Fog going to be in a lot of trouble now behind enemy line. Sneaking, taking quite a bit of damage himself. S4 will be able to skewer and get the kill. And Fog going to be the next one here to drop most likely. S4 also gets a deny on the tower. That is absolutely huge. They only lose Ake. They end up getting 2 kills, They deny the tower, and S4 goes in. He's got the reverse polarity still, throws it out, has that shockwave. Unstable Concoction is going to be there, and S4 picks up the kill. Now, Owie, he's going to teleport in. He does have his Shadow Blade. He's got 8 charges on the wand. I don't think he's going to necessarily be able to kill S4. He does pop that Rocket Barrage. Not going to risk it. He's going to go ahead and back up. I definitely think that's the better choice. But Dignitas, I mean, we talked about how efficient their lineup was in comparison to Alliance, but that doesn't really mean you can just play hyper-aggressive with very little vision and be okay with that.
And especially when they've been in this farming game for at least 5 minutes, where they just sit and farm and try and get the items up on each team. So a bit of a mistake for Dignitas to play that aggressive, and Alliance really did the best out of it and managed to get 4 kills, almost even got Aoi there. I believe Aoi had to back to base just because he killed off that Ancient Sack, like we mentioned, so he wasn't able to be in that fight. But I guess that was for the best, because otherwise he probably would have died as well.
Well, Armlet being made here on Admiral Bulldog. He's actually almost got it, so once he gets that, his teamfight presence is going to be much, much better. And he's done a pretty decent job at recovering. 45 CS at 17 minutes isn't amazing by any stretch, but considering the situation he was given 2 times in a row, mind you, like first game, he suffered, I think, even more than he has in this game so far. But it's 7-8. Dignitas still looking okay. They have a pretty significant gold lead, but the experience lead has dropped off significantly after the last couple of fights.
Yeah, for sure. And right now, Alliance just trying to get more farm up. Loda's going to go in with the Empower, as well as Acid Spray and just clear off this Ancient Stack. So his farm is really going to shoot away soon. I mean, he's only about 600 net worth above the Gyrocopter at this point, but if he keeps getting this farm and if they keep getting these very good team fights, then he's going to get so strong.
Yeah, his gold is just going up ridiculously right now. He's up to 3,200. Going to be over, 3,300 now. He's 3-1-4, so even though Dignitas made that first move on him in the top lane, they did secure the kill. Now he's just going to become that absolute monster of a farmer that we all know an Alchemist can be. And interestingly enough, EGM, he's pretty much the same, not necessarily the same net worth, but he's pretty close in comparison to the Darkseer, where I felt like that would be one strong point for Dignitas. That Universe would be able to get the mech much, much quicker than EGM would be able to get his. And Loda needs to be careful. He will stun himself out here if they notice it. He's going to be able to turn around. Oh, they do know. He does have the Shadow Blade there, but they do have detection. Nice counter reverse polarity coming out, but the wall from Universe, or triple skewer into the tower. The ultimate's going to be there from Queen of Pain, but it actually only hits EGM. Fog going to be in some trouble himself. We're going to see a buyback. It's going to be S4. It teleports back into the tower. Shackle now on to Way 2, and this is going to be yet another kill. So, I mean, they did kill Loda there. And they did force a buyback out of S4, but the buyback, I think, was a little bit warranted. They defend their tower. They do manage to get a few return kills, and sneaking with, I'll be honest, a questionable ultimate.
Yeah, I think he got a bit caught off guard with that skewer because it really pushed him. Because it felt like he wanted to hit it on S4 instead. Yeah. Just to be able to nuke him down, but S4 getting that huge skewer under the tower. Managed to get, I believe, a 3-4-1 or 3-4-2 in the end with the buyback, so I mean, a decent trade for Dignitas, as Universe is taking some damage, but looks like he's most likely going to be able to get away. But in the end, I'd say the Alliance probably was a bit favored, even though Loda went down, just because Alchemist can farm so well.
Speaking of farms, sneaking very, very close to his Orchid now. And it's interesting to me because the experience keeps going down, but the gold advantage for Dignitas keeps going up. Like, after each engagement, even though they didn't get the tier 2, they're still getting ahead in gold just because of like how we were talking about during the draft. Bruno referred to their lineup as greedy, but they're just effective farmers because of the heroes that they have.
Yeah, I mean, Prophet can always farm the jungle, and if a lane gets pushed, Gyrocopter goes down there and farms. And how we actually managed to go for the tier 2 tower and got it pretty much for free down in bottom. Since S4 was forced to TP up to top again to join the fight after his buyback, Aoi got that bottom tower. He got the last hit on it as well, and that's a few creep waves that you push as well as the towers, so he's really keeping up in that farm and getting a lot of items. So he's going for a BKB at this point, which I feel is a really good decision just to have against that concoction, as well as the Venomancer ultimate, of course.
Well, now that sneaking does have that Orchid up, if they can manage to get a nice Orchid onto S4, that would be absolutely huge. The other thing is, since S4 is pretty much all of their initiation and all of their counter initiation, how are they going to be able to go in if sneaking goes in first? Yeah, it's a little bit dangerous to do that as a Queen of Pain because of reasons we saw earlier, but at the same time, if you know the RP is not going to be coming, it makes heroes like Aoi a lot more confident in going in. Hookshot's going to be off the mark, by the way, as Dignitas are pressuring this tier 2, and they do not want to back. They are committing this pretty heavily. It looks like they finally will decide to back up for the moment, but they have a pretty, well, did have a pretty large creep wave. It's going to be eaten by that Empowered Bear. And of course, the Shockwave span coming out of S4. But Alliance, they're feeling pretty hesitant themselves. They do not want to try to go on this. Oh, they do get the deny on the tier 2. And they glyph as well, which is a little bit strange. Looks like the glyph came out after the tower got denied, so a little bit of miscommunication right there on the side of Alliance. And the rest of Dignitas just going to fall back, get a tier 2 tower for free. Not too bad.
Loda's looking to go in though, but he's not going to be able to find anyone since Dignitas, of course, got the ward on the hill, so I'm gonna be able to scout it out. And these rockets from Fogged have been so good. They've really been on the mark for scouting. Straight when S4 TP'd into the tier 3, he got hit by a rocket, so he couldn't blink straight away, of course. But they scouted him out, and they saw that it was mag coming in, so they just started spreading out a bit. And all these rockets have always been cancelling S4's blink, as well as just being really annoying against him.
Oh, top lane, Loda has a Shadow Blade pop. It's only for a few more seconds, though. There was a Dust pop by Way2, who teleported in. But now, Alliance going to be on the aggressive right here. As Universe is going to be spotted out by the bear, but he's going to be able to surge away. And of course, Way2. He made a Maelstrom, by the way, so that was his choice when he picked up the Mithril Hammer. And he's going to be able to push just a little bit faster that way. That kind of leans more towards that fast farming type of Nature's Prophet that Dignitas seemed to like so much. Of course, in game 1, he went for a straight Orchid, but this time the Queen of Pain has the Orchid, so it's not really as big of a deal for him to get it that quickly. And Sneaking also has his double damage if he wants to try to go for EGM. And EGM has his mech. I mean, he's 3-0-6. I was kind of saying how the supports of Alliance were struggling a bit, but I mean, EGM has played pretty darn well this game.
Yeah, he's played really well, and he's been able to get some good farm as well on that Windrunner. Not dying is just really good for him. At this point, Aoi manages to finish off his BKB though, which is going to be very good for him, because he's going to be able to stay in those fights. Even if you get RP'd, the follow-up damage won't really be there. I mean, they got some right-click damage, of course, but if they get a good cog, they're not going to have any magic damage follow-up, which is going to be very good for them. And then Aoi's going to be able to just go crazy and do damage.
Well, the AoE of Dignitas is also ridiculous. I mean, having a mech is almost a must if you're Alliance, because you get the Queen of Pain, Call Down, Vacuum, Cogs, Nature's Prophet Ultimate. Pretty much every hero on their team can hit you in a significant way, especially in terms of AoE. So I am pretty happy for Alliance. They do have their mech now on EGM. And he's also level 12, so he's doing quite nicely for himself. 2 lowest net worths, of course, going to be Fogged on that support Clockwork. And then Ake, who just... he has had such a bad game that there are basically mids diving him solo. Oh, what a nice root timing onto Universe right there. He's going to be forced to pop the mech. The Surge is going to be down in just a second. Sneaking actually blinks backwards, and a nice 3-man wall. There's going to be a solo Sonic Wave onto Loda. He's popped double damage rune. Sneaking wants to try to go for the kill, but he is going to get RP'd basically by himself. Now Aoi is here. Reverse Unstable Concoction onto Sneaking, and Loda does get mech'd up by EGM just in time. Shadow Strike not going to be doing enough damage to take him down. BKB now popped. EGM could be in some trouble, but no, another route onto Fog. Windrunner's going to be there, and he's going to try to teleport out, and I think he will be able to, just barely. So ultimately, a 3-for-2 exchange, and Alliance, they actually come out a bit ahead there.
It really looked well for Dignitas when they actually moved in, when they got that vacuum wall combo. But after that, just them, Alliance being able to back out of the cooldown so fast really helped them out. And then, of course, that Sonic Wave not really hitting anyone except for Loda, who was an ultimate. So he just survived for so much longer. And Loda's going to stun himself in mid, but ultimate is up, so can't really do too much about it. But overall, a really good exchange for Alliance. The only big hero they lost was the Mag, but he still got his blink, so he pretty much got what he needs at this point.
Yeah, the Orchid from the Queen of Pain was really nice there too. Stopped the RP for a couple of seconds before he was able to get it off. So just buying Universe a bit of time. I guess that fight could have gone a lot worse for Dignitas. If Universe had ended up dying before any help came, then it would have just been a net loss. And sticking with a very nice defensive blink there, realizing that S4 was going to be coming in and avoiding pretty much a disaster. So Dignitas still, I mean, their gold is like barely, it's like inching in their favor right now. it's barely going up at all. It's almost remained pretty consistent throughout the last 13 minutes of this game. The experience has been the only thing that is kind of going up and down, but it's still an incredibly close match here for game number 2.
Yeah, but like you pointed out, though, they're really efficient farmers on their team, having the Nature's Prophet.
Yeah.
Just always going into the jungle. Aoi clearing the Ancient stacks all the time. He's got dust on him now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see if he maybe goes for a lifesteal if he wants to, as the next item, just to be able to farm a bit better, and of course, having more sustain in the fights. Might just go for the butterfly, of course, as well, like he did last game. Since this game, he had to go for a BKB because of the magic damage on Alliance. It wouldn't be bad to get the butterfly now, afterwards, because then you're pretty much set. They can't really do anything unless they pick up an MKB. So that wouldn't be a bad choice, but lifesteal isn't too bad either.
Smoke up on Alliance. Only one not there currently is Admiral Bulldog, and they're going for potentially a wraparound here. There is still all the towers standing at Dignitas, by the way, so that's very, very impressive, to say the least, in a 26-minute game to not have lost a single Tier 1. But this fight could have some pretty big implications for either team. No one revealed just yet, but Dignitas definitely knows something's up. Admiral Bulldog's going in all by himself because he's trying to go for the bait, and there's going to be an RP. It's going to hit way too, and Universe Bolt. Is the mech going to get popped in time? They're stunned for so long. No, they're not going to be able to live through it, and now Aoi in a lot of trouble himself. Sneaking is there with the ultimate, but it pretty much does nothing, and he's going to be forced to blink back. So 3 members of Dignitas dropping there pretty much immediately, and that's the power of initiation that a mag can give you. Nice shackle from EGM, and that's going to be 4 heroes down. Alliance take a very, very dominant team fight.
Yeah, and this is going to be a Roche for them as well, so really good team fight, really nice smoke from them as well. And Admiral Bulldog having very good positioning. Dignitas wrapping around on the high ground instead, and Bulldog just standing down by the Roche pit instead, having his bear doing damage. But like I said, Roche going their way as well. So the experience graph really shooting in their favor. And for the first time now, gold is actually going a bit in their favor as well.
Well, that fight was just massive. Like, there's no other way to say it. That was a full BKB for Loda. That was an Aegis as well. So the next fight, they managed to kill Aoi really fast. I mean, yeah, there was an Empowered Bear hitting him. There was Loda hitting him with his Assault Cuirass finish, and of course the Chemical Rage. So the physical damage output on the side of Alliance is very, very dangerous. The question that we always would raise is, can they actually get to him? And in that situation, the positioning, like you said, pretty much immaculate, and they were able to get a very, very nice RP and take out one of the biggest impact heroes that basically Dignitas have at this point, which is Universe.
Yeah, the Clockwork being on the wrong side, so Cogs couldn't really stop Loda or the Bear from coming in doing damage. And then, like you said, they killed off Universe before a wall was used, even before Vacuum. I believe the mech was popped in the last second, but their damage was just so huge that they didn't really matter that the mechanism came out. So really good fight for Alliance, and if they keep getting fights like this game is really going to start going in their favor.
Well, BKB now on the way to Loda. He got a significant chunk of change from that last fight, as S4 seemingly saving for a BKB himself after, of course, his Blink and his Arcane Boots. So Dignitas now, I think, are going to be singing a little bit of a different tune. That fight pretty much changed the entire outlook of the game, especially because the next fight that Alliance decide to take, again, they're going to have that Aegis. They can potentially try to push into some towers, which up until before Roshan, they hadn't taken a single tower. They did get the Tier 1 bottom, so that's going to be nice for them now. But they have a lot of basic free gold that they can accumulate if they manage to take one fight.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, one good fight, and they can get so much gold. Just getting at least the Tier 1s, maybe 1 or 2 Tier 2s as well. Could be very big for them. And that's pretty much going to shoot the gold graph in their favor a lot. Because the gold graph is only about 2.5k in the favor of Dignitas.
Yeah.
And all the towers standing, that's more gold for the whole team than 2.5k.
Well, Fog potentially going for a deny here. The Bear just patiently sitting and waiting. He really, really wants this gold. Yeah, the Bear just hits it once, and it's just going to be a free tower, basically. So that Bear hits quite hard, hitting for just about 200 damage. And, of course, he's going for an MKB as well on it. And Universe is kind of doing his own thing. He's pushing into this top lane. And Way2 going to try to teleport out. Oh, S4 comes in with a skewer, and he actually pushes him into range for a shackle. So unfortunate there for Way2. Thought he might be able to get away. Got spotted out just a little bit too quick. and ends up giving away a kill. And that's one of the heroes that Dignitas really don't want to give up. They don't want him to be off the map. They are going to spot out sneaking here in the top woods. He's going to try to TP away, but S4 blinks right on top of him with an RP, and the Shackle's going to be there as well. Are you kidding me with that anticipation, just knowing where he was going to blink to and get that RP off? That was sick.
The read on snaking there, I was like, wow, sick play by S4 there.
That was like top 10, just thinking and knowing. It's like, yeah, he's totally blinking here, no hesitation,
yeah,
just right on top of him.
Scouting with a power shot, and then like he's gonna blink that way. There's like no way he's gonna blink the other way just because they broke the trees and stuff. So yeah, great play by Alliance, getting 2 pick-off kills in the end, and they're stopping down two of the very efficient farmers just because Queen of Pain can blink around. She can be out on the lane and just pretty much farm wherever she wants, and then of course the Prophet, like we said, super efficient farmer, being able to be in the jungle as well as on the lane. So really stopping the farm from Dignitas at this point.
Well, Dignitas now have some problems. Yeah, Aoi still has a pretty decent chunk of net worth, but the tankiness of Alliance is starting to kick in as well. I mean, you have an Alchemist, a Mag, a Lone Druid. Those are 3 of the tankier heroes that you're ever going to see. And Dignitas, who were ahead for pretty much the entire game, now drastically behind in terms of experience. The gold has basically more or less leveled off. So BKB ready to go on Loda. They want to try to take this fight. And Roshan is still not really even halfway up now. So they got maybe about a minute, maybe a minute and a half left on this Aegis if they want to try to make use of it. Acid Spray is going to be there, and Dignitas looking to basically just sack yet another tower. So there's been, what, 4 tower kills basically in the last 5 minutes? That's pretty much where most of that gold's coming from.
Yeah, pretty much. And at this point, it's just Alliance is really playing it out well, and they're really patient with this as well.
Oh no. They're going to steal the stack too. That is so devastating, especially because the Alchemist is getting the stack. That makes it even worse. He's up to 3,600 gold now. And we talked about how his farm couldn't just be adequate. It had to be pretty much good. Now it's good.
Yeah, now it's getting really, really good. He's only 30 last hits behind the Gyrocopter as well. And he's getting some very nice kills. And of course getting those Ancients. And now a tower last hit. So he's getting big. And he's getting big really fast as well.
Well, 11-20 here in game number 2. 33 minutes in. And Alliance seemingly to be in a very, very nice spot. Now, no team really has a whole lot of vision, but at the same time, the map control, you can definitely feel Alliance have the advantage. They have 2 wards, basically comparative to the 1 right now of Dignitas, but their positioning on the map has been very aggressive. They knew they'd have that Aegis for the next upcoming fight. That is not going to be the case, actually, anymore, as the Aegis is going to be fading here very, very soon. So I think that they're just going to use that to basically give Loda another item, and it's going to be a Basher, so he is going for that Abyssal Blade to be able to lock down Aoi just a little bit easier. EGM and Ake both able to secure themselves some forest staffs from that very, very nice tower gold that they finally got. That's like the best feeling as a support. You're sitting there like all game, you got no money, then all of a sudden your team kills like 4 towers, and you're like, yes, I have gold.
And especially if you manage to survive the team fights as well. I mean, suddenly you get so much gold and so many levels. You get like 4 level up in one fight, especially if you're Ake that's been under-leveled pretty much the whole game. But at this point, Dignitas, you can really see it, that they know they're starting to fall behind. So they're just starting to rely a bit more on split pushing instead. You want to use the Prophet more as a split pusher together with the Queen of Pain. But the 5v5 lineup that Alliance got is just so damn strong that they can pretty much trade if they want to pretty much and just go for the throne. Because they're going to force Dignitas to fight, and at that point they're going to be stronger.
Well, for now, Alliance going to be happy with taking a free tier 2 and just backing off. In the meantime, middle is going to be taken down here by Dignitas as well, and Aoi actually secures that. So he's got enough for his MKB if he wants it, but it's dangerous to just buy a full item at this stage, because if you die once, especially if Alliance decide to go on the aggressive and just push into your base, that 1 death can just flat out be the end of the game. So it's a very risky proposition if he wants to try to... No! He's not going for the MKB. I just kind of thought that there was no way he was going for a Rapier in this situation without even knowing if you can get the next Roshan, but it's a Rapier, Wetboss. A naked Rapier.
It's pretty much what they need in damage department. I mean, they're gonna need that damage, especially like you said, the tankiness is really kicking in on the side of Alliance. And if they can get the team fight they want with a good vacuum wall and then having the clockwork in front with the cogs as well, Aui's going to do so much damage.
Yeah.
It's going to be insane. I mean, he's going to be able to bring down Loda in his ultimate form, no problem whatsoever. And the flat cannon is pretty much going to kill off the supports as well, which is pretty much what they need at this point. So it's really nice to see that he picks up the rapier, because it's always fun to see a rapier, but it's also really what he needs this game. I mean,
yeah,
it's pretty much rapier or go home at this point almost.
Well, now there's a lot more emphasis on the next Roshan. Got to point that out. It's actually going to be scouted out by the Rocket. Of course, it's not up yet. It's still about a minute and a half, 2 minutes away. Gem picked up by EGM, so he's going to be counter-warding. And this is really tough, even with that rapier. Dignitas can't see anything. They have absolutely no vision of the map anywhere. And Alliance, for the most part, they've got the Roshan pit warded, they've got mid warded, and of course the Ancients. But having a vision problem when you have an item like a rapier is scary, because you know this is your all-in, this is your out. This is to say, if we get one good engagement, we're back in the game. We can potentially get Roshan, we could potentially just push out mid, depending on if there are buybacks on the side of Alliance or not. Hex now going to be done on sneaking, but risky stuff going on right now.
It's really risky, and even if Alliance didn't have any wards up, at this point, just the situation that Alliance is in, with the advantage they got, it doesn't matter if Dignitas knows they got wards or not, because they can't risk going out into their jungle and farm, because it's just going to be too damn scary, and it's just too risky for them, because if they lose that rapier, they pretty much lose the game at this point, and this is like their trick card, or their ace up their sleeve at this point.
The question is, does Alliance even know? Do they even know that he has a rapier? Because there's 2 hexes on the side of Dignitas as well. If they manage to hex out S4, they manage to hex out maybe the Alchemist, for example, and they take one good engagement. I mean, it's scary right now for Alliance, but I don't think they know it yet.
I don't think they've scouted it out, because Aoi hasn't been farming any waves.
Yeah.
He hasn't shown himself on the map. He almost shown himself up by the Ancients, but they probably figured that they actually had a
this
ward
could be it. Are they going to kill it fast enough? Fog potentially. Oh, wow. They killed that incredibly fast. Aoi going to be there. He's going to get galed up. Oh, man. This could be really bad. Aoi doesn't know he's in trouble yet. He's trying to do as much damage as he can. Here comes Admiral Bulldog. There is going to be a hookshot coming out from Fog. Sneaking goes in, and he throws out the Hex, and he's just going to get rooted in place and eventually maybe go down. There's the RP, and Aoi drops. That is most likely going to be the end of it. 2 BKB heroes coming in, S4 and Loda. And there is another bash as well.
Bulldog's got it.
Yeah, so Admiral Bulldog picks up the rapier. That's going to be GG. A little bit anticlimactic, and Admiral Bulldog's roots, man. What do you do?
Bears don't give a fuck. We've already...
Bears do not give a fuck.
We've really pointed that out before. It's like, they really don't give a fuck. They just go for it. And they go for it hard. So, I mean, a bit sad that we didn't get to see a big fight, but you saw it was like, the damage coming out is just silly when you have that rapier up. But it was the race up the sleeve. Didn't work out this time, so I'm going to move into game number 3, and it's going to be 1-1 for now.
I just want to point out that I've been right so far. USC Dignitas 1, Luxembourg.
Yeah, I was afraid I'm going to eat
Alliance
my words.
Now, excuse me. Of course, I'm not saying that it's because of the server, but it's just a funny, like, ongoing joke, of course.
Yeah.
And I think Alliance, they played much better this game. I felt like their lineup had some inherent weaknesses at the beginning, but a couple of really nice fights. Sneaking, to me, kind of underperformed this game. I mean, typically, he's known as that mid player who kind of dominates the mid game. He kind of controls it for your team, but he didn't really have the same feel here. He died basically, what, 2 or 3 times for a support. His farm was held back pretty significantly because of that, and I think overall, Dignitas kind of just weren't on the same page necessarily for that game.
It just felt like they tried to play the game out the same way they did last game.
Yeah.
Whereas Alliance lineup, it didn't matter if they got picked off, because their lineup was forced to go into the mid game and the late game. It wasn't supposed to push early game. So it didn't matter if they tactically feed or fed. It's like a 2-for-1 exchange is going to be bad, because Alliance is going to get more room to farm.
Yeah.
And that's what they wanted. They just wanted to farm. So Dignitas really playing it like the last game, and it didn't work out in the end because Alliance had more of a late game team.
I think one of the biggest differences, too, is just having Mag. Like, in that game, having a Magnus was almost a necessity. I don't think having a puck would be good enough. But of course, to dispute that fact or maybe agree with it, we have Bruno and of course, once again, Scriff.
I think you were key when we were talking about the mag. And at a certain point in the game, you said they have no initiation. The only way they could initiate was by Queen of Pain jumping there. Maybe if they were super lucky, a wall vacuum from Darkseer, but he would never be in the proper place because as soon as he got close, there was a Magnus RP, there was the bear that was entangling everyone, every single
Admiral
tank.
Bulldog, man.
Admiral Bulldog, indeed. And of course, the Alchemist, which was getting stronger and stronger by the minute. There was a poll that at a certain point I posted. It was like, who do you think it was ahead? I was really, really close. People thought there was 51% Alliance and 49% Dignitas. This is, of course, before the game started snowballing in Alliance's favor.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when I posted that, I look at Trans, and Trans like, what? Dude, like, come on, they're 6 towers ahead. Dignitas is clearly in control. But I mean, it was not like that. I mean, sometimes you get a lineup which is pretty similar to the opposite that was happening the other time, the last game. Last game, they had a very greedy lineup, Dignitas, but you knew they were in control.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry. I have the...
James.
Yeah, go to James.
Oh, I know what this is already.
Eagles hid the fucking kittens, and I had to save them. I didn't want to bring them down, but I said, like, maybe I'll bring one down. They're a little bit traumatized, so I was like, wow, what could mess them up a little bit more? And this, and you're not allowed to walk off the table, is...
He's okay now. He's on solid ground.
This one was already running around trying to escape its new home.
That's the Explorer.
And he's a little bit...
He's a bit scared.
Yeah, a little bit.
And he's wondering, where's Mum? Because she's outside.
We're traumatizing a kitten in front of thousands of people.
This one is actually the Explorer, because when I put him in his new home anyway, he was like, I'm gonna walk around.
Where are they now?
They're up. Well, she hid them under the boxes in the garage. So it's not safe in the garage because I put them in this box, and this one escaped and started walking around again. Okay.
Well, it's basically because we've
take you back.
probably been having too many people at them. She did the same thing last time.
Kitten in box.
He tries to escape. Watch. He's just gonna be like.
Well, yeah, he's in a box.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to be in there.
Help! Help!
Well,
I'm being repressed.
Escape
He
artist.
seems to be okay inside the box. Oh, never mind. Yeah, he's hollering again.
Goodbye. Your mum's outside right now. I can't help you. Okay. Adventure time. More traumatization.
Jeez. Poor cat.
No, here, try and get out. It's got holes in the top. It's fine.
I swear he can
fine.
breathe.
It's fine. This is fine.
Kitten box.
Kitten box away.
So we have kittens on the street.
Kittens.
Yes.
So there is our official sidetrack for this finals. And it was worth it, I think. Everybody loves kittens, right?
Yeah.
Pretty damn cute.
Pretty,
I had a
pretty
point
damn
before
cute.
that, but now I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like I was... Yeah.
What heroes were they playing?
Yeah, Alliance won because they have the Magnus
Oh yeah, man.
and this
Empower
redhead chick, which is really hot, and they have the pointy head guy
against them.
and the tree guy, which didn't make enough trees.
They had the
And that's why they lost.
Beards.
But yeah, also, the 101% stats make it 102 now.
I saw that, and I was like, is he just doing it on purpose? Or did he actually make a mistake? Because Bruno
I'm
Bruno
the
doesn't
kind of
make
guy
mistakes.
that makes mistakes.
That's the point I'm trying to make, is that Bruno doesn't make mistakes. And, of course, he is actually one button further down in his shirt than normal because it is finals. And, of
finals
course,
day.
we might have, like, 1 or 2 female viewers, so it's for them as well. But
You're
we
all
are going to be
button.
getting into game number 3 here in a little bit. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break. So, again, guys, we will be back here with game number 3 between Alliance and Dignitas.